In the past 4 months, we have had 4 House GOP members resign their offices and elected to get out of Dodge while they still can. Why is this happening right now? What does this have to do with Black Investments Matter? Let's talk about it on the Ujamaa Network. I'm Antoine Anderson. Political discourse has reached an all-time fever pitch in the House of Representatives. We have 6 House members who are leaving the body politics altogether. We have 2 Democrats. Representative Higgins out of New York, after 19 years, has decided to call it quits. Bob Menendez, who was facing some scandal, has decided not to seek election. Those are just the 2 Democrats, but we have had, as of today, 4 House GOP members who have decided to call it quits because they just cannot get anything done. Now, effective December 31st of last year, when Kevin McCarthy, who was ousted from his speakership, decided, hey, my resignation is pending, you guys can have it, I'm out. Not too long after that, we had Representative Bill Johnson. Hey, I'm not going to finish out my term either, it's time to go. Not too long after that, maybe a month later, because we're averaging 1 representative per month, it was the resignation of Representative Buck. Ken Buck decided, hey, we get nothing done here in the House of Representatives. And today, it was announced that Mike Gallagher is also taking a powder effective April 19th of this year. So that is 6 additional seats up for grabs for whoever wants it. Now, why would anyone want to run for election in this climate? Your guess is as good as mine. But this is now starting to affect everything. And why are we talking about this here on Black Investments Matter? Because it definitely will affect investment, especially within the African American community. How so, Antoine? Well, very easy. Business grants, business loans, government-backed FAA programs, anything that has to do with getting money or making money from the federal government is held up by the purse strings. And what body of Congress holds the purse strings? That would be the House of Representatives. Some of these members are on the House Ways and Means Committee, and they have decided, hey, there's just nothing we can get done here. I'm going to look for some other way to serve the constituents of my district. And that is well within their right, and who can blame them? As the political ideology that has spilled over from the Republican Party in particular now affects the entire body politics, where personal vendettas are the rule of the day versus the business of the people, it is coming clearer and clearer to many that this is the place where ideals die, where governance ends. And it is tit for tat right now. But is there a political realigning happening? Because as much as we're talking about the House of Representatives as it relates to the GOP side, there are just as many traditional Democrats who are tired of the identity politics, for instance, who are now voicing very vocally, as if the mayor of Chicago and in New York, about the immigration issue, how they're not necessarily towing the party line on how a sanctuary city is supposed to work. That does not mean eat up all the resources that the city sets aside for its citizens to house, clothe, feed undocumented people. And it has gotten to the point where it's starting to maybe break, maybe not the political line within the House of Representatives, but definitely amongst the constituents of these districts. And it's something that people need to be paying attention to. So what does this have to do with African Americans and Black Investments Matter and when it comes to voting? Well, it's simply because of the body of politics. Think back of some of the talking points that you've heard over the years. Um, African Americans have been very instrumental in electing certain offices as a block of votes. We have uh, a significant sway within the Democratic Party, not so much at all with the Republican Party, but it has historically been the black vote that has directed a lot of the changes in this country for both social and economic since receiving the right to vote. You have to remember in history, it wasn't until 1924 that blacks were even allowed to vote or to attend the Democratic National Convention. That's right, Democrat. 1924, the Democrats were a lot different from what they are today. It was the Republican Party where many of our uh, black heroes would place their votes. I'm talking about Martin Luther King. I'm talking about all the others from Abe Lincoln all the way up. But it wasn't until certain transformative political figures where things start to change. You had a lot of influence being used by policy that influenced a lot of the way African Americans, particularly, would vote in a given election year. Let's take a look at a couple of them. Franklin Roosevelt received about 77% of the black vote back in 1936 or so. That was a huge deal. This was at a time when black votes were literally split between the Republican Party and the Democrat Party of the time. Now, it was a sea change because of what policies were enacted, what was going on in 1936 Americans. The whole country was doing bad. However, as we typically know, if white America catches a cold, black America has pneumonia. It was particularly hard hit. Any assistance from the government was going to be welcome. And once that assistance got there, black people showed their appreciation with their vote. But then came Harry Truman. And again, a blow was sent to the political shockwaves as Truman announced that he was going to allow for desegregation of the armed forces. Um, right after that, 77%, this is 1948, 77% of the black vote went to Truman. We took a hiatus for the next few years. When Richard Nixon ran for office on the Republican platform, he received 32% of the black vote. That is an extraordinary number in modern times because up until then, there had been a slow trickle, but still double digit support for a Republican candidate from black voters. That is unheard of today. And it wasn't until the Voting Rights Act that was passed by um, Lyndon Baines Johnson, who succeeded President Kennedy after his assassination. Just remember what was going on. Kennedy came in and only got by on less than 60% of the black vote, and ended up still winning, but barely against Mr. Nixon. And after 1,000 days after his assassination, it was the Voting Rights Act that was passed that gave Lyndon Baines Johnson 96% of the black vote. To this day, no president has received more support than that. Not even Barack Obama. More people, more black voters per capita voted for Lyndon Baines Johnson than they voted for Barack Obama. And that is a fact. And the reason being there were political interest at stake here. The Voting Rights Act was the big deal right then. So what do we have now? We have some blurring of the lines on a political landscape. A lot of African Americans are feeling the pinch of not only the systemic racism that has been affecting us in banking and policing, but now we're starting to have to voice our opinion about the situation with illegal immigration, as now illegal immigrants are showing up in the cities using resources that African American taxpayers are working over, but not seeing the benefit in their own lives. Yeah, we have sympathy for any immigrant coming into this country, but you have to do it legally, and it shouldn't cost us, the registered tax-paying voter, services that are going to be allocated for your well-being and not the taxpayers. That is a big issue, and that is one that is having a lot of consensus amongst the parties. And more we talk about this issue, the worse and worse it gets for traditional alliances. See, there are no permanent friends in politics, so only permanent interests. And as long as you keep that in mind, well, the handwriting is pretty much on the wall. Let me know what you think about this content. Leave your likes, subscribe to the channel, and join. And we'll keep some of this content going, keep the dialogue coming. Thank you.